Hey everyone, and welcome. Happy Wednesday, November 1st. Thanks for joining the live stream. If you're tuning in today, we're going to be talking about rebuilding a computer lab in San Francisco's Chinatown with Cameron House. So for the next 30 minutes, hopefully you'll join us and learn a little bit more about this important project and this important initiative that the three of us are really passionate about and happy to be a part of, and inviting you to be a part of. So we're going to start with a quick set of introductions, and then we're going to give you a little overview of this project. My name is Jason Shen. I'm an executive coach, former tech founder, and a partner at 13 Fund, which is a strategic philanthropic organization. And next, I'd love to have Liane introduce herself.
Great, thanks, Jason. My name is Liane Wong, and I'm currently the board president at Cameron House, otherwise known as Donaldina Cameron House. And I've actually been involved in Cameron House since the second grade, so a long, long time. And I started there as a child, going to the summer day camps located in San Francisco's Chinatown, and just loved the camps, stayed with the program through elementary school, junior high, high school, and even college. And really came back to Cameron House recently as an adult to do some community volunteer work. And here I am serving on the board. So John, you're next.
Yeah, thanks so much. Great to be here with both of you. Excited to be talking about this project. My name is John Jerson. I'm an entrepreneur. I've worked in the technology industry for a long time. Mostly spent my career focused on helping people get jobs. And over the course of my career, that was something that really drove me. I was very passionate about. More recently, I started the Jerson Foundation, and we've been focused on a variety of things, including education. And that's one of the areas that I think was kind of most directly aligned with what I focused on in my career. And I'm looking forward to talking a little bit more about how that applies here in the computer lab at Cameron House.
Fantastic. Thanks for the intro, you all. We're going to start with a little video that gives folks a bit of a better understanding of what this project is all about.
My name is May Hua Tan. I come to USA 40 years.
My name's Angel, and I live in Chinatown. My parents, they're immigrants, came here right after they had me.
My name is Isabella Chong. I lived in San Francisco almost 45 years.
My name is Lydia. I was born in San Francisco. I live near Mission Bay. After I've been in Cameron House for a while, it's quite nice. It's like a second home.
My name is Flora Locke. I'm working at the Cameron House already 12 years. Mainly my job is teaching the adult students English, basic ESL, and the computer technology.
I learned English from her. She told us how to see the doctor and how to use the computer, share the screen and picture to my friend.
I think most kids don't have access to computers at home, or they do, but because this place is for after school and they get homework done here, it's more useful to have a computer here than at home where a teacher can now help them.
My name is Michael Lee. I'm the executive director of Donaldina Cameron House. My grandparents and my parents all lived here in Chinatown. Many of the people that we serve here, especially the youth, come from families that are living in our single-room occupancy, low-income housing in Chinatown, and they spend parts of their life here.
They like a text message, and they feel that very instantly to respond, so they feel the interest for that, and use the computer to send out email and connect to the families, friends.
We're just a few blocks from downtown San Francisco, an area that has created immense wealth, and yet here in Chinatown We've got residents and businesses that are struggling with basic access to the internet.
For us, it's really just about equity, helping provide resources and connections to opportunities that our children and our residents here in Chinatown might not otherwise have access to.
We're raising $50,000 to build a computer lab in Chinatown. That'll pay for the hardware, the technology, but also the teachers so that they're instructors with a trusted source of information and right here inside the community.
Nếu có tin nó sắp mẹ tao có hoặc者học tin nó ra vẫn phải vẫn cao.
My hope is that the computer lab is set up. The students can come in person and they can communicate with each other right away so they not feel lonely and learn more different new technology.
We know that the demand is out there for more, and we're limited by the tools that we have at hand.
This is an opportunity to bring equity finally to this community and also to teach the next generation the skills that they'll need to succeed in San Francisco and in this economy.
Well, welcome back. Thanks everyone for tuning in for that video. Now, hopefully you get a little bit more of a sense of what we're trying to do. We are building and in fact rebuilding a computer lab for Cameron House, which has been a pillar in this community for so many generations. And so I wanted to take a moment and learn a little bit more about that journey with Liane. So Liane, you mentioned your own journey with Cameron House started so many years ago, but tell us a little bit more about Cameron House as an organization and how it got started.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give a little bit of a history lesson here. Cameron House was founded in 1874. So if you do the math, Cameron House is celebrating its 150th anniversary next year. And there aren't a lot of organizations that have lasted to 150. We're located right in the heart of San Francisco's Chinatown. And Cameron House was founded by the Presbyterian Church. Now, in 1895, about a couple decades after Cameron House was founded, a young woman named Donaldina Cameron arrived in San Francisco from Scotland. And she came to teach sewing classes at this mission house in Chinatown. And so at the time, she was only 23 years old. And what was happening in the US at that time, there was a lot of discrimination. A few years earlier, the Chinese Exclusion Act was passed. And this was the first and only major US law that prevented all members of a national group from immigrating to the US. So at that time, a lot of young girls were smuggled into the United States. So a lot of Chinese girls. They were even sold by their own families as slaves in the United States, San Francisco. And when I say slaves, they could be indentured servants or they could be sex slaves. So this mission home in Chinatown saved many of the girls, taught them skills, taught them about faith. And Donaldina Cameron became the superintendent 2 years after she arrived in San Francisco. So at this time, she was 25 years old. And she was in charge of running this mission house. So she is credited with rescuing as many as 3,000 girls over a 40-year period while she worked there. And in 1942, the mission house was renamed Donaldina Cameron House, where it still sits today. In the video, you saw this old brick building. That exact same building still exists in Chinatown. And there is even a tunnel in the basement of Cameron House where you can, excuse me, one moment, sorry about that. There is a tunnel in the basement of Cameron House where you can, that's actually where the girls escaped when there were police raids in the building. So Miss Cameron would would hustle all the girls into the tunnel, which would go throughout Chinatown, and they would escape police raids. So that's the short history lesson about Cameron House and its founding.
It's an incredible organization, you know, and having been really led for so many years by, you know, started out as a young woman who became such an incredible force for these women in San Francisco. So tell us about then, you know, today, what kind of services Cameron House offers?
Yeah. So I mentioned that, Cameron House started as, saving young girls, keeping them safe. And in a way, that's what Cameron House continues to do today, is keeping the Chinatown community safe. We offer services to low income and immigrants, recent immigrants. Most of these people do live in Chinatown, which a lot of people don't know, that Chinatown is the most densely populated area in the United States outside of Manhattan. And there are buildings that are called SROs, which stands for single room occupancy. And it is just a small room. Often a whole family will live in an SRO, a single room. It's a shared bathroom on the floor, shared kitchen, no Wi-Fi. So, you could have 4 or 5 people, the entire family sleeping together in one room. So we offer a bilingual after-school program, which is at capacity right now, with 60 children daily coming after school for tutoring, basic computer skills. We do teach some basic coding and programming classes, and we help kids apply for college. And then for older adults, for seniors, we also offer basic computer skills, ESL classes, English as a second language. And we teach them how to access healthcare, housing information, how to use Zoom. If you have ever helped your own parents use Zoom, and even us who use technology often, we have issues with different types of technology. So we're continually trying to teach the basics so that people can function in the world today.
Thank you for sharing. And for those of you who are just joining in, we are, as you see, rebuilding a computer lab in San Francisco's Chinatown with Cameron House. You might see here on the QR code right in the corner that you could snap that and go right into our GoFundMe, because this is a really important project, a really important cause. And we are so close to meeting our goal of raising $50,000. We're at just a little over 45,000, so more than 90% the way there. Would love to get your help getting there. So Liane, part of why we call this rebuilding a computer lab is because there was a burglary that happened at Cameron House. Can you tell me more about what happened?
Yes, earlier this year, a burglar broke into our building and stole several laptops overnight. It wasn't discovered till the next morning. And this incident highlighted the fact that our laptops were quite old and almost at the end of their usefulness. And so that is one of the reasons why this initiative to raise money for some new laptops is so important to us, and will really make a big difference for the people in our programs.
Thank you for sharing that. Obviously, that's not something that we like to see happen to organizations that are doing such good work. And so, hopefully this becomes an opportunity for us to do more for the organization and for the community. So can you tell us, as the last question here, how are funds going to be used? This is a fundraiser. What are your plans for the funds that we're raising on behalf of Cameron House?
Yeah, great question. Well, the funds will be used to purchase 25 laptops and 25 iPads, tablets, and as I mentioned, what we have currently is quite old, and it will just help us to serve more people in the community and have more up-to-date equipment.
Liane, thank you so much for telling us a little bit more about Cameron House. I want to turn it over to John Jerson, who is a tech executive and a anchor donor on behalf of this fundraiser. And so, Liane and John, please take it away.
Sure. So, John, I'm going to ask you a few questions to find out a little more about your career and your philanthropic work. You mentioned when we started going live here that you had that from your personal experience is really a part of what drove you to sponsor this computer lab. How did you first interact with computers in school or after school programs when you were growing up?
Yeah, I appreciate that question. It was a transformative experience for me. I actually interacted with computers essentially for the first time since way back in the 90s, in the very early 90s. My third grade teacher chose to take a very unusual step at the time to bring a bunch of kids into a computer lab like the one that we're discussing today and expose them to not only the basic workings of computers, but also how to write code. And I remember that being such an inspiring moment for me. And it's something that really stuck with me. And throughout the course of my career, I've seen those kinds of moments be impactful for other people and that kind of access be impactful for other people.
Great. Thanks for sharing your experience. Have you also seen the impact of children having access to technology throughout your career?
Yeah, I have. A lot of my career has really been focused on helping other people get jobs. I did that at the company that I started, Connectifier. I did that as vice president of LinkedIn. I've done that as a board member and advisor to companies like Untapped and Gem. And in all of those places, I've had the pleasure of helping people get jobs, but also the really interesting experience of helping our organization understand how it is that people find jobs, how it is that they take the skills from their educational experiences and then find opportunity for themselves through the rest of their career. And as you can imagine, what I've seen is as the economy has modernized, computers and tech savviness has been more and more important for a larger and larger number of roles. It's really table stakes for essentially any office job these days, and even in industries like construction and transportation, more often we're seeing roles where some degree of tech know-how is becoming important. And so children and elders, of course, but children especially who are starting their education process today really need to be able to access technology to be able to learn how to operate in the kind of environment that we're all operating in more and more.
Definitely. And then you started the Jerson Foundation. Tell us about that. What was behind your thinking in starting the foundation?
Yeah, it's actually just a very simple answer. I've been incredibly fortunate in my career, and a value of mine has always been giving back. And I feel like the degree to which I've been fortunate places a responsibility on me to give back and to find ways to help other people be successful. And that's really a large portion of the motivation around Jerson Foundation.
Great. Well, the world is fortunate to have you.
Thank you.
And Cameron House. How did you find Cameron House? Why Cameron House? What was the connection?
Yeah, the connection was actually through 13 Fund, and Jason and Walma Moon and Danny Sauter had been talking to Cameron House. I'd been hearing about the work that they were doing. And as I got brought in and I got to meet you and several folks that you work with at Cameron House, the stories that I heard were really inspiring. The history that I read about was really inspiring. And I know from trying to do this kind of work for a long time that if you want to have an impact on people, you can't just throw some computers in a room somewhere. It's really important to work with partners that have the ability, have the relationships on the ground and the ability to drive change in people's lives. Cameron House has been changing lives for nearly 150 years, as you articulated earlier. And I found that to be incredibly inspiring. And those deep relationships, that sense of trust that Cameron House has in the community makes it kind of the perfect place to create more access for kids and for other folks in the community that do need access to computers and technology. Beyond that, the thing that kind of surprised me about Cameron House, and this is really, hats off to you and everyone that you work with there, it was really impressive the degree to which Cameron House folks were thinking about the future and how to provide courses, as you mentioned earlier, around basic coding skills, and even thinking about, is there something that we should be thinking about related to artificial intelligence, which is up and coming, of course. And I think that kind of perspective of not only having a very long history in the community, but continuing to think about the future is just very impressive to me. And I think makes it the perfect partner for something like this, and such a great institution to help continue to change lives.
Great. Thank you. Well, Cameron House is so thankful for you and Jason and Bilal. Thank you isn't adequate, but thank you.
Well, I appreciate that very much. I mean, we're obviously all in this together. And on that note, Jason, if you don't mind, I'd love to ask you a few questions and hear a little bit more about your story.
Sure thing.
Starting with, I think you've mentioned before, you're a first generation immigrant. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience as it relates to San Francisco and maybe Chinatown specifically?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was born in Suzhou, China, and moved to the United States as a young boy at 3 years old. And I grew up in actually New England. So my first exposure to Chinatown was Boston's Chinatown. And that was a place where we went for holidays and celebrations and really get kind of a sense of comfort and home and in that place. And when I went out for college, I got to get out of the cold New England winters and spend some time in California and in the Bay Area. And that's when I got to spend more time in San Francisco's Chinatown. So again, already immediately, freshman year of college, feeling these fond memories when we made our trips up to San Francisco and spent some time there. And, for me, San Francisco and I talked a little bit about how Chinatown represents, a sense of comfort, a sense of home, a sense of belonging. But I could tell even as a kid and then certainly as an adult that there are certain kind of limitations for people who live in Chinatown, certain people who live in Chinatown who maybe haven't been able to fully connect into the infrastructure or relying on their social network. But, as technology develops, as so many of the services that are provided online develop, that becomes a kind of a limitation and a crutch that's difficult to move forward from. And especially working in technology in San Francisco, the sense of ambition, the sense of what's possible, and that everybody's boats can be lifted when we develop new innovations, really, really kind of struck a chord with me.
I appreciate hearing that, not just your personal connection to the place, but honestly, your understanding of how people's lives exist there and what kind of change can be helpful. On that note, at some point, you started 13 Fund. You started investing in strategic philanthropy. I think that was just after selling your last company to Facebook. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I had started a nonprofit while I was in college and was kind of in that world. And then when I graduated, I entered the kind of business world, and I got involved in startups and technology companies. And I kind of set aside a lot of my social impact efforts and was just kind of like trying to develop myself as a professional and then as an entrepreneur. And started a company that wasn't so successful, worked at some firms in the Bay Area and then in New York, and then started another company, which ended up being a little bit more successful and ultimately exited to Facebook, now Meta. And around that time, I was reconnecting. Well, I was always in touch with my good friend Bilal, who I had started that nonprofit with in college. But he had also had an exit, and we were both kind of talking around the time of COVID about, while we were sort of enjoying some material success and professional success, a lot of people around us, all over the country, all over the world, were in a difficult position, and it was hard to square those two things happen at once, and it made us reconnect with that desire to make a difference. And we're all familiar with the Bill Gates, the Mackenzie Scotts, the sort of high visibility 9-figure donors out there, and we certainly weren't one of those at any point at this time. But we realized that there were things that we could do, and we had done so much as scrappy college students. We certainly had a bit more means than that. This seemed like a good time to create an organization that could rally people who have been successful in entrepreneurship, in technology, to re-engage with some of the social and cultural challenges of our time, even if you aren't Warren Buffett. And so that was the motivation behind 13 Fund, that we would identify issues that were affecting our communities, whether that were in New York or the Bay Area, and we were sort of alternating. So we did some food, displaced food workers during the pandemic. We supported anti-Asian hate through an organization in New York City. And when it came time around to look at San Francisco and the Bay Area once again, this became a real prominent opportunity for us.
Great. I appreciate hearing all of that personal motivation that you had around the work that you do at 13 Fund. And I'll finish with a question that Liane asked me, which is, how did you decide to get involved with Cameron House and this project specifically? What was that connection?
Absolutely. One of the things that is interesting as we kind of developed this 13 Fund and some of the tenants that we had, one of our early tenants was like, we wanted to support young nonprofits, or nonprofits that we defined as being under 10 years of age from the founding point. And that was sort of our bias as technologists, as entrepreneurs. The new, the novel, the innovative must be the recent. And in fact, we've come to realize that longevity is hard. Longevity is often a marker of being adaptable and being flexible to the community. And that's one of the things I really learned as I spent time. I took a major role in putting that video together that we played at the top of this live stream, and that we'll play again for those of you who are joining in and didn't catch that. But Cameron House, to me, was an organization that has really adapted with the times, that has listened to its community, to the members and the residents of San Francisco and of Chinatown, and continue to evolve. And so when I saw that they were doing this work with seniors, with young people, and really expanding opportunities through technology, that made us decide to kind of break our own rules and go for it and try something that we hadn't done before, which is support a very well-established organization. And we couldn't be happier to have been involved. And so to put this GoFundMe together, to bring you on as an anchor donor, to have all these people that you see down below in the ticker who have contributed large amounts, small amounts, people from the tech community, people from San Francisco, people from outside of both of those communities who just care, has been incredibly rewarding and wonderful. So at this point, I kind of want to turn it around back to Liane. We have made a lot of strides in terms of our fundraiser. We're still not quite there, but it doesn't hurt to take a moment and maybe celebrate and have some appreciation for this show of support that the community has come forward for us.
Oh, definitely. So again, I am so grateful to each person who has made a donation so far. As we've been saying, we're really close to our goal, so we're hoping that some of you viewing will reach into your pockets because, you know, I can attest this money will definitely go towards serving an underserved population. And I want to highlight some of the people who have really, really dug deep and become some of our top donors. And they have already made a difference for us. So Christine Yen, thank you, $1,000. Also $1,000 from Avichal Garg. We have one person who wishes to remain anonymous at $5,000. Matt Mullenweg, thank you, $1,000. Paul Graham, thank you, $5,000. Gary Tan at $1,000. Jason, our partner, thank you for your $1,000. And John, our partner, John Jerson, thank you for seeding the project with $25,000. Again, all of these people are so important to us, and whether you know, it's $50 or $500 or $5,000, every bit helps.
Thanks for reading those names, Liane. I think it's so inspiring that so many people have jumped on and donated. And for anyone who's watching the live stream right now or watching this video after the fact, I just want to be very clear that, you know, we are still live and rolling and trying to continue raising funds. And we've made tremendous progress because when people hear this message, like you're hearing it now, they've been inspired by the fact that this is so clearly for a good cause, creating access to technology for dozens of children, as Liane talked about, who don't have access to technology right now, and you know are in a challenging position because of that. And broadening the access that they have is critical for them, not just now so that they can interact with school assignments and homework and things like that, but so that they can learn the skills that they need to continue to be successful in today's modern economy, to be successful in San Francisco. We're really excited by the fact that so many people have been generous and tried to support their own community or tried to support a community that they're near to. And we would ask all of you who are listening to this to do the same. Please look at the QR code on the top of the screen, and please make whatever donation you can. Please join us in such a wonderful project that we're all part of now.
Thanks for sharing that message, John, and for once again, you know, being such an important partner in making this campaign happen. I want to call out that, you know, with this anonymous donations, and there's a number of them right on the screen. People don't always give with a need or the desire or the interest in being recognized, but that in some ways makes that gift even more important, and we just want to acknowledge that, you know. And we happen to know who the donor is, of course, but to protect their privacy, I just want to say that they're a senior member of the technology community, right? They're someone who has done well and who wanted and has in many different circumstances and situations generously given to important causes. And so there is absolutely no reason why you and all of us who have done well in this technological startup entrepreneurial environment not find opportunities, whether it's this project or any other sorts of projects in your community, to look for a way to make a difference with your time and with your dollars. So thank you again for those of you who are tuning in. We are so excited to get across the finish line, rebuilding a computer lab in Chinatown for Cameron House, a nearly 150-year-old institution that has served generations of San Franciscans. And with that, we are going to close out with another playing of that video that we had at the start, and we would love for you to contribute. Use the QR code. Find us on GoFundMe. You can just find Building a Computer Lab in Chinatown, and you will get to it and help us get across that finish line with that $50,000 campaign of ours.
Thank you, everyone.
My name is Liane. I come to USA 40 years.
My name's Angel, and I live in Chinatown. My parents, they're immigrants, came here right after they had me.
My name is Isabella Chong. I lived in San Francisco almost 45 years.
My name is Lydia. I was born in San Francisco. I live near Mission Bay. After I've been in Cameron House for a while, it's quite nice. It's like a second home.
My name is Flora Locke. I working at the Cameron House already 12 years. Mainly my job is teaching the adult students English, basic ESL, and the computer technology.
I learned English from her. She told us how to see the doctor and how to use the computer, share the screen and picture to my friend.
I think most kids don't have access to computers at home, or they do, but because this place is for like after school and they get homework done here, it's more useful to have a computer here than at home where a teacher can now help them.
My name is Michael Lee. I'm the executive director of Donald Dina Cameron House. My grandparents and my parents all lived here in Chinatown. Many of the people that we serve here, especially the youth, come from families that are living in our single-room occupancy, low-income housing in Chinatown, and they spend parts of their life here.
They like a text message, and they feel that very instantly to response, so they feel the interest for that, and use the computer to send out email and connect to the family's friend.
We're just a few blocks from downtown San Francisco, an area that has created immense wealth, and yet here in Chinatown, we've got residents and businesses that are struggling with basic access to the internet.
For us, it's really just about equity, helping provide resources and connections to opportunities that our children and our residents here in Chinatown might not otherwise have access to.
We're raising $50,000 to build a computer lab in Chinatown. That'll pay for the hardware, the technology, but also the teachers so that they're instructors with a trusted source of information and right here inside the community.
My hope is that the computer lab is set up, the students can come in person and they can communicate with each other right away so they not feel lonely, and also learn more different new technology.
We know that the demand is out there for more, and we're limited by the tools that we have at hand.
This is an opportunity to bring equity finally to this community, and also to teach the next generation the skills that they'll need to succeed in San Francisco and in this economy.